these are the first steps in your better breathing journey. They're the daily habits you're going to put in place. That way you can transform your life via your breath. You're going to record your morning Bolt score, which is going to be done every day in the morning right after waking. That's in order to track your progress. Next up, we have nasal breathing only, which is learning how to breathe through the nose 24/7 or during rest, physical activity or exercise, and also sleep. Now, a nasal dilator can help out with, particularly during exercise or sleep. And then we have mouth taping, which, are you waking up with a dry mouth? If you are, it's a good indication that you're sleeping with an open mouth, and that's something we want to fix. Again, we want to breathe through the nose 24/7. The mouth tape is a very good way to do this, and especially myotape since it goes around the mouth instead of over the mouth. Next up, we have prevention of sleeping on your back. Sleeping on the back for many people corresponds with twice as much breathing and a corresponding decrease in their Bolt score. So we're looking to improve score and have you breathe less, not more. So next is learning the breath recovery exercise and using it to reduce asthma attacks, a blocked nose, feelings of breathlessness, migraines, headaches. So you need to learn this exercise and be able to say it on a regular basis. And then next is constant basic control of breathing. This essentially goes back to not overbreathing. So it's important to learn the basics of how to prevent those situations that cause overbreathing. So that can involve things like eating too much, again, sleeping on your back, and so on. You'll learn how to also breathe using your diaphragm. So this is really important for not doing chest breathing and also getting a full breath in. Now, you also require you to use a Butika belt if needed to learn how to use the diaphragm, but there are other exercises you'll learn where that's not necessarily a full requirement. So we're going to dive into each one of these topics a little bit more now. So for recording your morning Bolt score, you're going to want to be recording this every morning, as I already stated. It shows and tracks your progress as well as your ability to tolerate carbon dioxide buildup in the blood, which is important for breathwork size selection and practice. Now, your morning Bolt score is also the best time to take this measurement due to it reflecting your Bolt is likely its lowest and gives you an indication of how you slept that night. If there's a significant drop, you know your sleep was not restful and replenishing. You're probably also breathing through an open mouth. Now, recording your Bolt score before and after breath work is also a good practice. So, before or after you do sessions, especially long or intense sessions, because if your score drops significantly, it shows that you either are not ready for that breathwork practice, or you have overtrained, or you did too much intensity, or the session was too long. Now, it should usually improve slightly after a breathwork session than what it was before you started. Note that you should also resume your normal relaxed breathing for at least 3 minutes before you would retest your Bolt score. So if you get done with a session, 10 minutes of this whatever style breathing technique, you would want to wait 3 minutes and then retest your Bolt score after that 3-minute period. This is an example day of recording your Bolt score. So, as you can see, today's date, your score, maybe you had a session. You could do your initial Bolt score is the time you get not their morning Bolt, it would be the Bolt or your score before you did the session. Then you could mark down the session you did, and you can mark your final Bolt or the Bolt you did after you completed the session and rested. Now, you can also have people put over here symptoms or medications if they're taking any and what they took for that day, so they could see if they have been decreasing or if they needed medication. Now, if you're working, again, with anything like you have diabetes, hypertension, you should be working with your health practitioner to make sure you're not adjusting that medication or without them knowing. Next up is breathing through your nose 24/7. Now, breathing through the nose is how we were meant to breathe. This includes while we sleep and during exercise. That is up to a certain intensity, but for most people, that's a pretty high intensity. So for most recreational exercisers, people going to the gym, should be mainly breathing through the nose. If it's impossible or very difficult to breathe through your nose at rest, then that's what we need to address first. This can be done by increasing your tolerance to the buildup of carbon dioxide through the practice of the breathe light exercise, or just having awareness of mouth versus nasal breathing. A nasal dilat may be required when the nasal airway is small or there's some type of obstruction. It's very common for people to have a deviated septum, and that may require the use of a nasal dilator. You must also learn to breathe through your nose at night, which is why mouth taping next, which may be necessary in order to accomplish this in the beginning stages. Now, we were meant to breathe through our nose and not our mouth. This is because it creates about 50% more resistance to airflow than breathing through the mouth, which results in a 10 to 20% greater oxygen uptake in the blood. This additionally makes breathing slower, deeper, engages the diaphragm, and also calms the mind. Now, additionally, it filters the nose and filters and warms the air before it enters the lungs. Slow nasal exhalations give the lungs more time to extract oxygen from the air leaving your lungs, leading to more oxygen delivered throughout your body. Then the air passes through the nasal mucosa. This acts as a filter for toxins and other things, and it stimulates nerves that control regular breathing. With nasal breathing, the sinuses also produce nitric oxide, which is necessary for regulating inflammation in the airways and in defense against airborne pathogens, viruses, and bacteria. So that in 1992, nitric oxide was named Molecule of the Year. It was discovered that this gas is produced in the nasal cavity and paranasal sinuses, a group of 4 air-filled sacs surrounding the nose. Nitric oxide originating in the nose is 100 times higher than the amount in the lower airways. Every time a breath is taken through the nose, nitric oxide follows the airflow down into the lungs, where it opens the airways and increases oxygen uptake into the blood. Now, how is this so? This is because it significantly increases the efficiency of the ventilation perfusion ratio. Now, this ventilation perfusion ratio is essentially how much you're ventilating or breathing, how much air is coming in, to the amount of oxygen that is getting extracted from red blood cells and making it into the cells or the working tissues that need it. Now, how is this possible? It's because of nitric oxide's vasodilatory properties, as it prompts the blood vessels in the lungs to relax. Nitric oxide also inhibits the growth of various pathogens, including bacteria and viruses. This suggests that it, in the nasal airways, could serve to protect the body from infection. In addition to having a constant awareness of nasal breathing and nasal breathing constantly throughout the day, even during exercise and at night, is exercises for breathing through the nose. A simple rule that nearly always applies is that if you can breathe through your nose for a minute, you can breathe through it for life. Now, below are some exercises to help to restore constant nasal breathing. Suitable for everyone, even with a POLD score under 10 seconds, is the breath recovery exercise. Building towards once you're above 10 seconds, there are some other exercises listed there that you can start to practice. And then down at the bottom, POLD score of at least 15 seconds, or sometimes even needs to be closer to 20 seconds, are 2 more exercises. Now, I know you know these exercises yet, but you will. As already mentioned, we need to address mouth breathing during sleep, or being able to just nasal breathe throughout the night. The most obvious sign you are mouth breathing at night is that you wake up in the morning with a dry mouth. So if you're waking up and you need a drink right away, it's a good sign that you're mouth breathing in. Now, you may also find that you have smelly breath, particularly early in the morning. Mouth taping is the simplest and most effective way to ensure nasal breathing at night. This has been repeatedly referred to as the best thing people have ever done to improve their sleep. An objective measure of how you slept, and more specifically how you're breathing throughout the night, is to check your BOLT score. To determine if you're overbreathing at night, measure your BOLT before you go to bed and again when you awake. If your BOLT score is lower, now this isn't a couple of seconds, it's more like if there's a 5-second difference or more upon waking than it was the night before, this shows that you were breathing too hard or mouth breathing during sleep. Following this description, you'll have a mouth taping demonstration video. Now, MyoTape is a special tape designed by Patrick McKeown, the creator of the Oxygen Advantage, that goes around the mouth instead of over it. This is great for anyone that has anxiousness about their mouth being covered while they sleep. However, there's alternatives which include micropore tape or lip seal strips that can be bought online from Simply Breathe. There's also additional options on Amazon as well. To overcome possible anxiety of wearing tape, it's good to try the tape out for 20 minutes before going to bed. It is common that the tape may fall off for the first few nights. This should resolve itself with continued use. If the nose becomes partially blocked before bed, the nose unblocking exercise, if your bolt score is not less than 10 seconds, is a good option. Now, if it is below 10 seconds, an option is the breath recovery exercise. It can also help to wear a nasal dilator sleep if extra help is needed to increase the size of the nasal passages. And lastly, taping is not suitable for anyone under 4 years of age or if you feel nauseous or have been drinking alcohol. Also, during sleep, we want to prevent sleeping on your back. Sleeping on the back is the worst for respiration during sleep as it results in about twice as much breathing. Sleeping on your right side has also been shown to increase ventilation compared to sleeping on the left. But really, on either side are two of your best choices. There are several methods to prevent sleeping on the back. One method is to take a sock and wrap it around the middle of a belt, making a knot. The belt is then positioned around the chest with the knot on the back of the person or yourself. Another popular method is to take a double layer strip of bed linen, wrap around yourself, make 2 knots on your chest and move them onto your back. There are 2 highly helpful exercises for gaining awareness and control of your breath. One is named the breath awareness exercise. The second is the relaxation of the breathing muscles exercise. I will have videos of these to come, but for now, additional activities for controlling your breath include being aware that your mouth is open, only open for eating, drinking, and speaking. So you shouldn't be, at any other time, have it hung open or not be nasal breathing. Mouth taping can be used as a daytime tool here as well, especially for those that are severely sick or those unable to keep control or avoidance of mouth breathing. Now, another additional activity is coughing through your nose. This might sound a little bit weird. You might be thinking, what does that mean? Well, if you shut your mouth and then try to cough, you'll understand what I'm talking about. This will cause as little ventilation as possible. Now, and that's, disregard that if you have an obstruction that needs removed, if you're choking. Perform nose blowing gently and only when nasal discharges need removed. So that means blowing your nose you have a cold, try to do it gently and not with as most forceful as you can. Perform the breath recovery exercise or short or moderate breath holds directly after is also highly beneficial to calm the breathing back down. Now, using the breath recovery to halt bouts of coughing, yawning, sneezing, and hiccups is also used, or at the sign of the onset of strong emotions even. So if you feel angry, you can just, like counting to 10, you can practice the breath recovery exercise instead, and it'll do better than that counting to 10. This we're going to go over a relaxation technique. Now, if you're having trouble with the diaphragm or being able to relax into breath holds, this then you want to practice. So what it's going to be is tensing muscles, kind of going the opposite of what you would think, and then relaxing. But it's going to teach you the difference between that tensing and relaxing, and between the two. So our first one is going to be the arms and the shoulders and some of the back. What I like to do is either lowest position or seated in a chair. You're going to put your hands on your knees, so they're either to the sides a little bit or out in front of you straight, and you're going to pull with your hands like you're pulling your knees back to you with your hands. You're squeezing here, and then go ahead, relax, let it down, and feel the difference between that pulling back and tensing. So actually pull those knees back and then relaxing where you're not hands ahead or pulling them back. And one more here. Really squeezing back and then letting go. Good. So next is going to be a chest, kind of upper chest movement. This is for relaxing. If you do a good bit of upper chest breathing. So here, squeezing the hands at each other and then relaxing. Your chest, tighten here with that squeeze together and then relax. And you can even drop your hands all the way down if you want in between these. Again, here, squeezing together and relax. Good. We're going to do 3 of each of these. So the next one is your hands on your ribs. If you need a rest during this too, you can go ahead and take a quick rest. Pause the video. But here's our next one. So going in and hold. Go ahead, let it relax. Again, you can drop if you want. This is teaching that diaphragm how to relax. Again, in, expanding and letting it relax. Again, push the hands out, belly out, and relax. Take a rest. Our last one is going to be the neck and the face muscles. This one's, and especially if you're doing mouth breathing or you have that forward head posture, these tend to be really tight. So what we're going to do is it's going to be a really big smile. So you're going to overexert that smile and then bring the neck and muscles and the face muscle into attention. So, and then relax. And relax. Now, if you have an issue or kind of surgery that you just had, I would skip this one if it causes any type of really big discomfort. So one more. And relax. Good, so you can go through a couple times until you get that feeling of being able to go from tension to relaxation. Relaxation is what we want during breath holds. When we're holding tension, carbon dioxide builds up faster, and you might notice that's what's limiting your breath holds. So our last one is essentially going to be, it's called diaphragm activation while breath holding. It's essentially going to be what it sounds like, holding the breath and then trying to activate the diaphragm, which you can do by trying to swallow or take air in while you hold your breath. So I'm going to hold my breath and then I'm going to try to breathe in. Well, I can't because both my mouth and nose are plugged. So now, again, depending on the level here, you can do a couple of these instead of just one. I'm just going to do one for this video, so it's going to just be pinch the nose and then breath in and relax. Want to do a little bit more. And relax. All right. So that's a good way to start to learn the relaxation if you're having difficulty. As you can see there on the right, as what one looks like, it can be a very useful tool for everyone, but it's especially helpful for those that may be getting a feeling of suffocation or panic from or when they're doing breathwork exercises. That includes those that have anxiety, panic disorder, hypertension, and some others. Also, anytime I'm working with someone who has a very low Bolt score, even when it's between 5 and 10 seconds, but definitely less than 5 seconds, I make sure that they use one while we're doing breathwork exercises. It is also used when doing intermittent hypoxia breathwork, which is taking the breath down into, or oxygen levels down into hypoxic levels and then bringing it back up. So this is so you can watch oxygen levels both to make sure they're going low enough, but also to make sure they're not going too low. This can additionally be used to see the immediate effect a breathwork can have on your pulse rate and to give indications of possible food intolerances. For if the pulse rate only increases by 5 to 10 beats for 2 to 3 hours after a meal than the previous value, so if I took my pulse rate before the meal and then I took it 2 to 3 hours after, if it was only up 5 to 10 beats, then I tolerated that meal well, at least. I like to see it go all the way back down to normal, but that means it's well tolerated. Now 10 to 15 beats usually means an increase may indicate a possible food intolerance that you consumed at that meal. And well, at 20 to 25 beats increase or higher, especially if it's 2 or 3 hours after, it clearly indicates you have a food allergy or you overate. Here is a pulse oximeter. Essentially, we're going to use this mainly for intermittent hypoxia breath work, or like the simulation of altitude training exercise, where you're trying to drop that SpO2 percentage down to below 91 or even into the mid 80s. So essentially, you can also use it during TUMO or kind of the Wim Hof method style breath work to see how low, then to make sure that you're not going hypoxia too low, which would be below, like once you start getting to 50 and below, there's a chance passing out. So this would be, use that, since one of the things with Wim Hof is stability breathing out. That's why you don't want to do it around water. So put my finger in here, turn it on. You'll see the top number is your SpO2 percentage, which mine is about 99%, and then below that is usually like the heart rate, which about 80 or so. Now, so I'm talking, it's usually lower than that, but so you can use for those two style works. I really like to, and anyone with a bolt score below 10 seconds, I'm pretty much always using this just to make sure if we're doing some exercise and then I see the heart rate go up, I can tell it's stressing them out. So you can use it that way as well. And then there's things you can use it for, like food intolerances. So if you eat a meal, you notice a couple hours later that you're resting, normal resting heart rate, and that's up by like 10 beats or more, that's indicative of a food intolerance or allergy. The higher it is, again, it's like 2 hours after you've eaten that meal. You can also, again, for sleep as another option. So you can see how well you slept by hour, a couple weeks or a couple days, determining what's your normal resting heart rate when you wake up. And you can, like, maybe you a couple of drinks the night before or some that, and then, or you were up later and you notice that it's up a number of beats, that is not getting sleep. So there are many biohacking devices out there, but I like this as a very cheap version of those. So, and that's the pulse oximeter. So I recommend people use it, especially when doing more advanced breath work or your bolt score is really low, but you can use it in many other ways. Is learning to breathe diaphragmatically. Now this starts by us defining what deep breathing really is. Heavy breathing and taking a deep breath are very different. A deep breath is not a big breath, or it's not heavy. Deep refers to the area of the body that is used to bring air into the lungs. Movement occurs lower or deeper than as seen in chest or upper airway breathing. Deep breathing uses the diaphragm, therefore the breath moves to the abdomen and the lower ribs. Now the size of the breath can be large or small. Deep breathing is just focused on the location of the breath and not the size. Diaphragmatic breathing is deep breathing. However, deep breathing itself may not make full use of the diaphragm, or otherwise known as the main breathing muscle. This could be the case when you focus on belly breathing and the expansion of the abdomen only in the forward direction. Now, diaphragmatic breathing causes frontal and lateral expansion of the abdomen and the lower ribs. This is 360-degree expansion. The diaphragm is a very important muscle and is the key muscle in the biomechanics of healthy breathing. It helps to slow respiration, draw air deep into the lungs, and supports functional movement. Effective diaphragm breathing helps maintain stability of the spine as well. Core stability, breathing, and posture are inextricably linked by the pressure generated in the abdominal cavity by the movement of the diaphragm. This is known as intra-abdominal pressure, or IAP. Here are a lot of the exercises you're going to learn to activate the diaphragm, as well as be able to use it unconsciously throughout the day so you can breathe as you were intended to.